Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. Now, first thing I'm going to deal with is why I didn't leave a video when I went on vacation. The thing of it is I did make a video, I did have it, but unfortunately, fate intervened and told me that it would be a bad idea to leave that video up. And I think it's okay to talk, to tell you what happened now, but basically I made a video that kind of dealt with why I don't do drama topics, like, oh, so and so at CIG is supposedly terrible, or why did this person all of a sudden disappear, or oh my god, where's all the money going, and all this stuff like that. And I don't deal with shit like that because, I mean, in a broad sense, I look at Kickstarter, I look at crowdfunding, and I look at it as, okay, I am basically taking this money and I am gambling that this team can make this game, and that's it. To me, it's a gamble. I know different people look at it different ways, but to me, it's gambling. I think it's a wise bet. I think it's a safe bet, but, things can happen. So I'm not overly concerned. To me, the money is already spent and it's already gone. So, now we just hope for the best. But the part that made me kind of say, you know what, no, we got to yank that video, was I had said, if you want to know who the canary in the coal mine is, if you want to know if something's wrong at CIG, you got to just watch Ben Lesnick. Said if he ever disappears for no reason, if he just vanishes, then that means that there's problems at CIG, because he is like, Star Citizen superfan number one. And so if he ever bails, then we're all screwed if he disappears. And then of course Ben Lesnick disappears. Just like a few days after I recorded that, he was gone, and then we find out later he's in the hospital. And so I was like, okay, because I had gone on this whole spiel about, if I was the FBI and I was investigating CIG, Ben Lesnick would be the first person that I would pull into the interrogation room, because he would be the one to crack, and that's how I go about it. But then it just seemed, after the fact, and after, when Lando said that he was sick, it just seemed that I was having fun at his expense. Like I was using his illness as a punchline. And so I decided, no, we're not going to do that. But I did kind of have another topic, but I wanted more time to kind of explore it. I kind of wanted more time to think about it and think about how I was going to approach it. And oddly enough, the last month or so, I've been kind of toying with the idea in my head. And then it was after seeing Star Trek Beyond that I said, okay, you know what? Now I think I've got enough. I can deal with this topic. So basically, over the last month, Netflix here in Canada re-released the entire Star Trek library. For the longest time, like if you're in the States, you guys have always, I think, pretty much have always had the entire Star Trek library, every episode. We didn't here in Canada. We had TNG, and then that was it on Netflix. And the TNG that we had looked like a shitty VHS transfer. I mean, it looked like if you were watching someone's old VHS collection of TNG, it's exactly what it looked like. And it was shit. And so they re-released it at the beginning of July. All of a sudden we had Voyager, Enterprise, TNG, the original series, the animated series. We had everything. And it was all sharp and digital and beautiful to look at. And so I've been on a huge Star Trek bender. Even been playing a little bit of Star Trek Online, just to kind of get the flavor back. And I've been enjoying myself. But through all of that, I was kind of starting to coalesce on something. Mentally, something was kind of forming up in my brain. I was starting to look at Star Citizen from a Star Trek perspective. And, for the longest time, everything has been so fighter-centric. Sabers, Vanguards, Super Hornets, 300 Eyes, all this crap. We've been talking about fighters for the longest time because that's all that we had. And then we got the Starfare. And the Starfare kind of opened up some new horizons, but really, cargo, not there yet. Fuel, not there yet. So there's really not that much that we can do with the Starfare. But a lot of these systems are, supposedly, hopefully, coming online later this year into next year. And the more I was kind of watching Star Trek and playing Star Trek, I was starting to think, hey, once we get to the point where these big ships can now do what they're supposed to do, be it cargo, be it raiding, be it, just straight up combat, be it intelligence or science, gathering, exploration, once these things all come online, are people just going to shed their fighters? Think about it. Like, if you're in a fighter, you have a limited amount of fuel. There's only so far that you can go. Whereas if you're in a big ship, you can go much further. You can go out farther. If you're in a fighter, you're playing by yourself. I mean, you can play with your friends, but you're still having to manage your entire ship by yourself. If you're in a big ship, say like a Caterpillar, a Starfare, or beyond, all of a sudden you can delegate all these tasks in ship management, energy systems. You can delegate that to your engineer. Shields, you can delegate that to your, combat operations officer or whomever, whatever that person ends up being called. Weapons, you can delegate those to your gunners. You can do all that stuff in a larger ship depending on how big the ship is. And of course, the bigger the ship is, the more complex it gets. And so I was starting to think, hey, not unlike Star Trek at all. And so I'm starting to wonder if maybe where Squadron 42 is going to be a very fighter-centric experience, I'm wondering if fighters aren't just going to be in Star Citizen sort of like a transitional phase for players getting into the bigger ships, and if there aren't a large number of players who are sitting there looking at their their basic game package, be it an Aurora, a Mustang, or whatever, and they're looking at it and they're saying, it doesn't matter to me. Someone could say, oh, the Aurora is a piece of shit. I don't care because I'm never going to fly it. I want to be chief engineer. I want to be number one gunner. I want to be the number one E-War officer in my fleet. That's what I want to be. Fighters, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I would really be curious to know, like, if CIG put out a poll to the whole community and said, hey, how many of you are even thinking about operating your own ship? How many of you just want to crew someone else's ship? How many of you want to be a part of a crew? I'm really, really curious because, sometimes you hear people say, I don't think I'm going to be that good of a fighter pilot, or, I don't want to go out and spend all this money on a HOTAS and all this other crap. I just want to be a chief engineer, or, I just want to operate on someone else's ship. And that's what's kind of making me wonder about these bigger ships, because, they were always there, but they were always something that was kind of in the background. They were always those JPEGs that we saw. We thought, oh, that's going to be cool. That's going to be really interesting. But we never really got to mess around with them. But now we're starting to get to mess around with them. And at least in my mind, I'm starting to look at the fighters as like, oh, well, that's just what the NPCs are going to fly. I want to fly my big ship. I want to fly my Caterpillar. I want to fly my Reclaimer. I want to fly a Polaris. Maybe. I don't know. It's just like the closer and closer we get to these bigger ships, the less and less I find myself concerned with or even thinking about fighters. And the more and more I'm concentrating on what would it be like to be the captain of a starship. to walk out onto the bridge of my starship and say, all right, set a course for SETI Alpha 5 and let's go explore over there. Things like that. That's what I find myself more and more concerned with these days, and more thinking about. What's it going to be like to be the captain of a ship? What kind of crew members am I going to need? Do I even want to have an NPC crew? When you hear people talk using voice attack or using various programs so they can just send voice commands and just say, equalize my shields, lock missiles, deploy countermeasures, all this crap. But if you have like a human intelligent crew, then you don't have to worry about that stuff. Because if you've got like somebody sitting there managing your shields, you don't even have to tell them to manage your shields. You can, they're going to know and they're going to handle it. If something really bad happens, they'll let you know. But that way it's delegated. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about your energy levels. You can just say divert power to shields, divert power to weapons, divert power to engines, and it's handled. And you don't have to go beyond that. You don't have to worry about installing any optional programs to do all that stuff. You don't have enough money for a HOTAS, be it a $600 HOTAS or a $200 HOTAS. That's all right, because you can probably find someone who just wants to be the helmsman on a large ship like that. And so, more and more, I find myself kind of coming to the realization, or at least theorizing, is Star Citizen going to be more of a large ship centric game versus a fighter centric game? For the longest time I thought, fighters are cheap, everyone can afford a fighter, so you're going to see a lot of fighters, and the bigger ships are going to be few and far between. But now I'm starting to look at it and think, I think there's going to be a lot of people out there in big ships. And I think with a lot of people out there in big ships, there's going to be big demand for people who want to just crew those ships. And so, I don't know, I think the people out there who are sitting there going, I don't think I'm going to be that big of a fighter pilot, or I don't think I'm going to be that good of a fighter pilot, and I don't want to spend money on a HOTAS or all this stuff. Those those people who end up saying, I just want to crew someone's ship, those are probably going to be the most popular people in Star Citizen. Those are probably going to be the most sought after players in the game, because people are going to be like, I want that person on my shields, because that guy can turn 100,000 shield hit points into 500,000 shield hit points before they collapse. That's the person I want manning my shields, not some idiot NPC. I want a human being managing it. And I think those people are probably going to be pretty popular as we move into Star Citizen. But I don't know. Those are just my musings. I'm just wondering how this is all going to play out, and I guess we're going to start to see some of this in the near-ish future. Hopefully with if we get a hangar-ready Caterpillar. I still don't know if we're slated to get that for 2.5. I hope so, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I'd love to see a flight-ready Caterpillar by CitizenCon. Thinking about it now, before, when I used to look at people who would just melt everything and go, I'm going to get the Armada pack so I can get an Idris, and I'd be like, I don't know if that's really a good idea. You kind of want to have a fighter, and you want to have one of these, you want to have one of those. And then I would see people who would melt it all and then just gamble on a Javelin, and I would look at that and I was just like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Now I find myself looking at it and going, I kind of see your point of view. I really, really do. I wonder how powerful the Javelin's going to be. I really, really do. I mean, obviously, I think, isn't it with the Javelin, you're getting it, but it doesn't have all the turrets? Like, you have to go and then outfit the Javelin on top of buying it. So I guess it would be more of an org thing, like everybody piles in together, gets a bunch of money, and then outfits the ship. But with the extended fittings that we're going to be able to get beyond what we've already seen in game, because a lot of the stuff that we see in game right now isn't the top quality items that you're going to be able to get in the Star Citizen. You know, just sort of like how maybe right now the weapons we're playing with are like the equivalent of greens in, say, World of Warcraft, and then there's epics out there that you can get, epic weapons, epic shields, you know, things of that nature, things of that scale, you know, where there's going to be better and better quality that will fit in that slot. I wonder just how powerful these ships are going to be, and as these things scale up and as ships get bigger and the weapons get bigger, just how much, if any, impact that fighters are truly going to have in the future, beyond, say, like something that can throw torpedoes or something like a gladiator. I wonder how that's all going to play out. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. But anyways, those are my random musings for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.